medical renewal day for me today. Not too nervous. Maybe I should be, I don't know. It is something which tends to induce a bit of nerves because I think particularly because you don't have a lot to control over it. Obviously you can, make sure you make healthy lifestyle choices, eat well, exercise. But I guess as training pilots, you are into having control. You're into being in control, and it is something that is not entirely within your control. So I guess for me that's where the nerves come from. Actually, when I first walked into my local flying school for my first theory lesson, before I even got through the door, I met one of the locals, aviation enthusiasts, and he said, "Oh, do you want to be a pilot, do you, boy?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, have you done your medical?" And I said, "No." He said, "Oh, go and do your medical. First thing, go and do your medical." And that is fantastic advice, which I totally ignored. Don't ignore it. Honestly, learn from my mistake. Don't ignore it. I ignored it because one thing led to another, and I was, there didn't seem to be an appropriate time. And before I knew it, I was totally invested in becoming a pilot. I had spent actually a few years without really embarking upon my actual training, searching, researching, trying to find a route which I could navigate myself and my family through effectively, cost effectively, and time effectively, so that we could manage and balance all of the aspects of our life without there being too much stress. Obviously there's going to be some. So I was entirely invested in becoming a pilot before I'd done my medical. So when it came to it, I think I had a little bit more stress there, a little bit more anxiety than I needed to. I think when you first realise this is what I really want to do, you should go and do your medical. Class 1 if you want to be a commercial pilot, or Class 2 if you just want to have a private pilot's licence. Class 1 is a little bit more stringent, and it is only valid for a year at a time. I'm actually having a renewal because I let mine elapse by 3 months. It has to, for you to be a pilot in command, you have to have a valid medical certificate. I haven't flown. I have flown within that 3 months it's been elapsed, but with an instructor prior to my solo. I still haven't soloed. So basically, yes, I've let it elapse by 3 months. You can let it elapse by up to 2 years. Obviously, you can't fly in that time. But after 2 years, you would have to have an initial exam again. Pre my initial exam, the only thing that I was too worried about, like I said, I wasn't concerned. I didn't think it was going to be a problem. But the only thing that I had a little bit of anxiety about was my eyesight. 11 years ago, I had an eye injury and had to have an emergency operation, and I have slightly inferior eyesight in my right eye. As yet, I don't have a prescription, but I think that's pretty much in the post. I don't think it'll be long. When I had my eye test and my initial, she said, "Yeah, you've probably got a couple of years." I'm about 15 months into that couple of years, so yeah, that's in the post. But anyway, so when I passed that, I was absolutely over the moon. I thought, yes, it's okay, it's going to be fine. Passed all elements of the medical exam apart from my FEV1 score, which is the percentage of a total volume of air in my lungs that I could exhale in 1 second. If you can exhale 70% of your total volume within 1 second, you're absolutely fine, and the vast majority of people can. I had absolutely no clue that I had a deficiency here. Absolutely, it came as a complete shock when the doctor raised an eyebrow after my first exhale. You get 3 goes, and you have to get that score above 70%. Mine was down by 2%. That is a sign of asthma or any other obstructive lung disease. Like I said, I'd absolutely no clue that I had any of these things. I'd never had a lung function issue. Quite fit and healthy. So I left. What he said, at that time he couldn't issue me with Class 1 medical. I would have to go to the CAA Aviation House in Gatwick for more stringent retesting to see a respiratory specialist. He assured me that it wasn't over. I could still be a pilot. They'd have to check to find out exactly what was going on, and it might mean I would have a restriction to multi-crew operations. So I left, so I think, okay, it's not over, I can still be a pilot, but I was downcast. You know, obviously, like I said, I had invested a lot of time into this. And yeah, the thought of being restricted, I didn't like. I want to enter this profession with all options open. So that was what I set my targets on. I researched as much as I could. I found out that the reason that this is tested for Class 1 is if you have restrictive or reactive lungs, airways, then there is a chance that if you had an explosive decompression at 40,000 feet, where your lungs will empty themselves very fast, if your airways are restrictive and that induces a coughing fit, then you are not in a good position to be in command of an aircraft. So at the CAA headquarters, they can replicate these conditions by exercise. And yeah, it took me a while to get ready for that. I wanted to be fully read, fully understood. I wanted to be as healthy as I possibly could, so I ran a lot. I mean, the truth is, it doesn't actually make much of a difference how much you run to be able to change this feature of your anatomy. I had the retesting. There is levels, basically. If you have a change of under 10% before and after exercise, then you're okay. You will have a Class 1 medical unrestricted. If it's between 10 and 20, then you would have the restriction that you would have to be part of a multi-crew environment, and over 20, it's bad news. Anyway, yes, so I did my exercise. My lung function turned out that, they were not restrictive or reactive to reactive. I came under that 10%, and I was issued with a unrestricted Class 1 medical. And I have to say, it was the happiest. Well, it took 4.5 hours to get from Gatwick to Heathrow on the M25. That is the happiest I've ever been in a traffic jam. It was, I can't describe it. It was fantastic because, like I said, I had invested so much by this point. And to suddenly have that put into jeopardy and come through it was a wonderful, wonderful moment. So yeah, hopefully I will be leaving today with a similar feeling. We shall find out. So guys, it's an hour and a half later, and I'm past fit for another year. It's a huge relief. It shouldn't be, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? It feels fantastic to know. It's a bit like an MOT, really. Just take your car in and you know it's safe. And that's how I feel. I feel good. The tests are pretty simple with the renewal. Just urine, blood, eyesight, bit of hearing, full disclosure of your medical history, anything that's occurred in the last 12 months. Blood pressure, did I say that? The time taken to do all of those things and have a good chat about the aviation industry is about an hour. I was a little bit more because he's a lovely, friendly doctor, and we had lots to talk about. So, next thing, back to the skies. Can't wait. Hope to see you up there soon. Take care.